Hello and welcome to this showcase special edition of TRT World's Arts and Culture program. In this edition, we'll be reflecting on the events of 1 year ago, the night of July the 15th, when the Turkish nation lived through some of the most horrific hours in the country's modern history. Turkey was being targeted by the FETÖ terrorist organization. They deployed tanks, troops, and fighter jets to try to bring down the government. In this program, we'll be taking a look at the effect that bloody night has had on the country's arts, music, and literature, both in the immediate aftermath and in the years to come. It all started around 9 p.m. 250 people were martyred in the span of just a few hours in different parts of the country. The Çengelköy district of Istanbul was among the most targeted areas, and one Turkish painter, Şafak Tavkul, put everything he saw on that night of defiance onto paper. Our Elif Bereketli paid him a visit to see how his sketches depict that night.
The night of July the 15th was full of explosions, gunfire and bloodshed all around Istanbul, but especially here in the Çengelköy neighborhood on the Asian side of the city. There are thousands of photographs and videos documenting that night, but also the sketches of Turkish painter Şafak Tavkul, who spent those hours in these streets drawing what he saw.
Çengelköy'deki çatışmanın izlerinden birini de bu Derecik Sokak'ta görüyoruz. Gördüğünüz gibi bu dükkanın camında kurşun deliği var. Duvarda var, duvarda izler var gene. Burayı artık bir çeşit anıt haline getirdiler. O gece biz haberi alır almaz hemen önce dışarı çıktık. Sonra nereye gidelim diye karar veremeden direkt Çengelköy'e indik. Siz bu sokakların bu kadar huzurlu olduğuna bakmayın. Yani o gece cehennem gibiydi burası. Ve o ilk travma bizim için ilk vurulanları görmemizle başladı. Ve ben başladım çizmeye onları. Herhalde 4-5 tane çizdim. Sonra eve gittik ve evde devam ettim. Hava henüz ağarmadan eve geldik. Tabii travmatik bir durum. Üzerimden atamıyorum şeydi. Bir taraftan o başladığım çizimleri evde devam etmek istedim. Şimdi bir taraftan aklımda kalanları çiziyorum çünkü gördük bir sürü şeyler. Bir yandan da endişeyle aradığım arkadaşlarım var. Sonradan arkadaşlarımdan gelen fotoğraflar. Onların yolladıkları fotoğraflardan da eskizler çizdim bir taraftan. Çünkü ne olacağını da bilmiyoruz. Yani o gün enteresan bir gün. Sabah ne olacağı belli olmayan bir geceydi. Küçük bir deftere çizmişti yani eskizler onlar. Daha sonra onları tarayıp büyüttük. Büyük olarak işte hatta bu Kısıklı'da bir nöbet yerinde sergiledik onları. Enteresan bir sergi oldu. Benim açımdan çok ilginçti çünkü daha önce yani bir sürü sergi açtım ama bu kadar gezilen sergim olmadı açıkçası. Yani benim açımdan o gecenin sembolü olan bazı mekanlar var. Hani en azından onların yağlı boya aktarılması lazım. Çünkü yani resim tarihinde de bazı örnekleri var bunları biliyorsunuz. İşte Goya'nın, Picasso'nun çalışmaları var. Sıcağına olayları resmettikleri. Köprü benim için çok önemli. Çengelköylüyüz biz. Köprü bizim için hep güzel manzarası olan yerdir. O sabah mesela şu Çengelköy resminde ilk bakan hep burada manzara resmi görüyor. Halbuki benim için orada var, bir facia var. Çünkü tankın vurduğu polis aracından çıkan dumanlar aslında. Hani zaman zaman eleştiriyordum ben gençleri, yaşlıları, herkes işte sonuçta bu toplumun dejenerasyonuyla ilgili sıkıntılarımız var diye. Ama o gece gördüm ki yani ihtiyaç halinde hakikaten müthiş bir millet çıkıyor ortaya. O açıdan çok gururlandık tabii bir taraftan. Kendimize de gurur duyuyoruz tabii bir de.
One leading figure on the Turkish art scene has captured the essence of the night of the failed coup attempt. It was the spirit of the people that urged him to write and direct a play that's now being staged across Turkey. Miranda Addy went to meet him.
Istanbul, Ataturk Airport. On the night of July the 15th, it was one of the epicenters of action. Now we're using this airport to reach our next destination. We've heard about a theatre director who staged a play in the aftermath of the attempted coup based on the events of the night. His name is Mehmet Tahir Ikaler, and we've come to Ankara to meet him. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say about how the night unfolded here in the capital. Mehmet's the head of the art committee for Turkey's Independent Performing Arts and Education Association.
It was almost midnight when we rushed onto the streets. My wife and I were at the front of the presidential complex, trying to convince the tank operators to switch off their engines. We were with another 40 people, including friends. All of a sudden, a helicopter appeared and started firing at us. More than half of us were wounded, and some died there. I'm grateful to be alive and for standing up against the coup attempt that night.
He was inspired to write a play, Resistance Against the Darkness. It traces the events of the night and their impact on the Turkish people. Kadir Çoklu plays one of the plotters.
It's one of the hardest moments for an actor to act a role that doesn't feel right, and playing a villain adds even extra pressure. When Mehmet first brought the role to me, I wasn't so up for it because of the reactions we could possibly get. So when he suggested we could wear masks, it was such a relief.
Mehmet's a hands-on director. He works very closely with musician İshak İkinci Tekul.
I was hugely affected on the night of July 15th, but I thought art is the greatest medium to resist and fight back, so I grabbed a pen and paper. On that night, I wrote 2 poems, and the next day, we actually started to understand what had been going on in the country. Then immediately, the whole theater company was on the streets for the Democracy March. We didn't have any weapons. We could only win hearts with our performances.
Bizim elimiz silah tutmuyordu. Bizim elimiz ancak kalem tutuyordu. Sözümüz de insanlara ulaşabiliyordu.
We're only 1 year removed from the events of July 15th. So is it too soon to stage a play? And what about the audience? How have they reacted?
Müthiş. Oyun bittiği zaman gözyaşı.
Really well so far. It's a very emotional play, but I also added some tragicomic elements, which represent the reality we faced that night. Theatre is the mirror of reality. Frankly, I wanted to show those who say that the coup attempt was staged that it wasn't, and what better way to do that than on the stage.
Mehmet's already put on Resistance Against the Darkness in Istanbul, Ankara and Cyprus, and will soon be heading to Manisa and Urfa.
Yanı başımdaki arkadaşlarımız şehit.
Those who opened fire at us killed my friends, and I was there to witness all of it. I'm thankful that I'm able to tell the story of those heroes through a play.
Sanıp Rabbim beni o geceye şahit kıldı. Üstüme bir vazife verdi. Ben de bunu tiyatro sahnesine aktarmayı düşündüm.
They say literature is the mirror of history, and the attempted military coup will be reflected in Turkish poetry, stories, and novels for many years to come. So what has politically heavy Turkish literature already produced about the night, and what can we expect in the future? Elif Bereketli talks to the experts to find out.
Turkish literature. A long tradition that's always up to date. Last year, nearly 670 million books were published in Turkey. That's nearly 8.5 books per person. Politics play a big role in most of contemporary Turkish literature, which is arguably what makes it interesting for a lot of Western readers trying to understand a complicated country through fiction. So, what about the failed coup attempt? Has it yet been reflected in Turkish literature? Or is 1 year on a bit too early to tell? There is someone who can help me find some answers.
For an important social event to reflect on literature, time is needed. It hasn't reflected on novels yet, but it's perfectly normal. A novelist needs at least 3 to 4 years to produce a serious piece. I haven't seen many short stories as well. But incidents like these influence emotions right away. That's why it already reflected on poetry and essays. Real reflection needs 4 to 5 years, but for now we should look into poetry.
Many poems have been written over the course of the year, some documenting the night, some expressing anger, excitement and sadness. Not only poets, but also scriptwriters were inspired by the tragic night. Iskender Pala is a poetry professor and author of several bestseller novels. Much of his writing reflects Turkey's long history of military interventions and coups, some of it based on personal experience. Now he's come up with a new theatre play on the 15th of July coup attempt, and I'm visiting his office to ask him about it. He says he wants to keep the memory of the night alive.
Benim 15 Temmuz'dan sonra
I wanted to keep record of the ensuing days, when the memory of the night was still hot, when we were still hearing the screams. People were angry, excited, furious. I used previous famous coup attempts from history, trying to show the links between them, terrorism, and what we went through in July the 15th. Military interventions promise freedom whilst limiting them. It's such a contrast. Art cannot take root in such a state, but in countries like us, post-coup processes never presented good grounds for artists to work.
Novelist and critic Selim İleri has been a major figure in Turkish literature for decades. He doesn't think literature in Turkey has shied away from times of conflict and controversy like the coups.
We've had a lot of military coups. It's always traumatic, stormy, atrocious for the writers. The outer world takes over the inner world. However, these hard times also have a pushing power on the artist. Literature likes challenging and fighting against the felonies. We can never know when we can see the results. For example, when the 1960 coup happened, I was a young boy. But years later, my memories from those days appeared in my writing. It was a dark, cacophonious time. It reflected a lot on Turkish literature. However, the 1980 coup was less visible in literature. There was an unbelievable amount of violence back then. As for July the 15th, I strongly believe that the 2016 failed coup attempt will reflect on every corner of Turkish literature.
Emotional poems, passionate essays. It seems like Turkish literature has already responded to the 15th of July coup attempt, but will it reflect on novels and other longer forms? We'll only be able to know over the next few years as the productions begin to be released. Elif Bereketli, TRT World, Istanbul.
People all around the world have voiced their solidarity with Turkey in many different ways. In the aftermath of the coup attempt, one Turkish-Armenian musician based in Istanbul has composed and recorded a song dedicated to the bravery of the Turkish people.
I've come to this performing arts school in Istanbul to meet one man, Jerry Hirimyan. Jerry's been well known on the music scene for years, but today I want to talk to him about one song in particular. he's promised he'll perform the 15th of July Democracy March that he wrote in the wake of the failed coup. But first, I want to find out a bit more about his own experiences on that night.
15 Temmuz arkadaşlarımızla dışarıdan hiçbir şeyden habersiz eve dönüyorduk. Dönünce dediler ki Büyükşehir Belediyesi'nin binasını bastılar. Biz de yıllarca ben orada görev yaptığım yerde hemen heyecanlandığım, çok sevdiğim arkadaşlar var. Hemen oradan arkadaşlarla koştuk gittik, bir baktık ki...
Can you tell us a bit more about the song and how and when you created it?
İlk geldim, bütün kalbimin sesini dinleyerek, o insanların acılarını hissederek, o yaralıların kıvrandıklarını, çıkardıkları seslerin, barutun kokusunu alarak, o sisin ahengini, o bulutu hissederek oturdum, evvel bu yazdığım marşın şiirini yazdım. Haykırır, haykırır insanımız, bu bizim vatanımız.
Jerry's song works both as a piano melody and with electronic beats added. But it's the sentiment behind the song that struck a chord with Armand Tunç from the Veteran and Martyrs Association.
Türk toplumunun kazandığı bu zaferi en iyi temsil eden marşı yazan Jerry Bey'e Vatan Şehit ve Gazi Aileleri Derneği olarak bir ödül takdim etmek istiyoruz.
As well as being a composer and a pianist, Jerry is also a piano teacher. Now, I can't play any instruments, but I figure if anyone's going to be able to teach me, it'll be Jerry. So, Jerry, do you think that you can teach me something from this song?
İnsanımız haykırır, haykırır insanımız, bu bizim vatanımız.
As an artist, Jerry felt he had to react to the events of that night. And he chose to do that through his art, through his lyrics, his melody, and his performance. Miranda Ati, TRT World, Istanbul.
Many younger people here in Turkey had never witnessed a coup attempt before July the 15th last year, as the last one took place in 1980. Burak Aydın is one of them. He's called Mr. Block on the streets, and he has been painting graffiti since he was just a child. And since last year's failed coup attempt, he started raising his spray can in support of his nation. This is his story.
Burak is a 21-year-old graffiti artist who lives in the city of Mardin in eastern Turkey. He came to Istanbul to leave his mark on the walls to commemorate the first year anniversary of July the 15th.
I'm Burak. My street name is Mr. Block. I started graffiti when I was 13 years old. When I was little, I used to copy graffiti from the films I was watching. I did my first graffiti on the wall of my primary school. It was a way of rebelling against my teachers. Obviously, I wasn't allowed to.
The night of the coup attempt was as much of a shock to him as everyone else.
I was in Balıkesir city on the night of July the 15th. We were on holiday with my brother. That night I came home from the gym. I was exhausted, and I was listening to the radio news. I heard the trembling voice of TRT presenter Tijen Karaş. I found it strange because she sounded as if she was about to cry, though I didn't dwell on it and turned it off. Then a friend of mine called and said there was a coup happening. I couldn't believe it. So with my brother, we searched the internet and saw how severe the situation was.
Even though he hadn't seen a military coup before because of his young age, he was outraged just the same.
It was around 11 p.m. Before President Erdogan called on people to take to the streets, we were already out. We had the feeling that if we didn't take to the streets, we could have lost something very valuable.
For his latest artwork, Buğra picked the late Sergeant Ömer Halis Demir as his subject. On July the 15th, Halis Demir killed a brigadier general plotter and broke the command chain of the coup organizers. He was then martyred by the coup soldiers. Halis Demir played a key role in preventing the coup from succeeding.
Ömer Halis Demir is my hero. He got rid of the problem from the root. If he hadn't done that, we might have all been dead now. Who knows?
Since July the 15th, Buğra's approach, not only to life, but also to his art, has changed irrevocably.
I decided to do these works to make people realize the seriousness of what we've been through. Basically, I'm trying to keep the July 15th spirit alive.
When people go through a particularly challenging time, art becomes a safe haven for the soul. Buğra celebrates his love for his country through his vibrant form of expression. Nur Senat Der, TRT World, Istanbul.
July the 15th, 2016 was a night that changed the course of the country's unity. Despite different political views, the Turkish nation came together as one to fight being oppressed. And they won. Hundreds of thousands of citizens poured onto the streets against the FETÖ terrorist organization to keep what was theirs. And our Elif Bereketli finds out how 4 distinguished artists and writers handled that night and the following year.
My initial knee-jerk reaction was to go to Taksim Square and protest. The public was not there yet. There were soldiers in the center, and they were all telling us to leave and go back home in a very kind of patronizing way. And we were all shouting that they should go back to their barracks.
That evening, I realized something was not normal, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. Then I saw the military tanks on TV. Shortly after, I could hear the low-flying jets and loud gunfire. I kept going in and out of the house with my wife, trying to make sense of everything that was happening. I never remember that night with fear, though. I remember it as a time full of courage.
It was July the 16th. I started painting Erol Olçok's portrait. I had so much respect for him. He supported artists a lot. I wanted to immortalize him. This is all I could do. Sorry, I still feel emotional about it. That night, every color turned black for me. I never wanted to use bright colors after. No oranges, no reds. I wanted to paint only darkness.
I'm sure it influenced my art directly or indirectly. After you experience it, you're never the same person. I wrote 2 short stories about that night, but I should write more. The hotness of the events dominates art and literature. Life becomes art itself when we're still in the process. But I know I'll write more. I'm still processing.
We could be like the pianist in the Pianist movie. I can't foresee much further, but maybe we'd be forced to make portraits of high-ranking army officers. Who knows?
We would have been invaded and disturbed, and we would be in a state of constant alienation.
I think I wouldn't be here. I think a lot of my friends, be it against the present government or not, doesn't matter, they wouldn't be here.
I never thought this attempt could have succeeded, but if it had, I feel like it could have turned into a civil war. I don't think Turkish society would accept a military junta anymore.
It means a country turning into a prison, a military barracks, everyone eating, sleeping, making love, or simply living under orders. We've already been through that.
A military coup means becoming paralyzed. With every coup, we are more and more paralyzed, and we lose self-confidence. Just like T.S. Eliot says, trying to turn these lands into a wasteland. That's what a military coup is.
That's all for today's Showcase special, 1 year on from the failed coup attempt in Turkey. You can watch any of today's stories on TRT World's YouTube channel, and we'll be back very soon with more from the world of arts and culture. I'm Efnan Han. From me and the team, thank you for joining us. Bye for now.